Have you ever wondered what truly happens in the quiet moments after you walk away? Not when you argue, not when emotions run high, but when the dust finally settles and she realizes the man she thought would always be there is gone. It's in those moments behind the facade of strength and independence that a storm begins to rise within her. The laughter you shared, the calm in your eyes, the steadiness you carried. It all returns to her. Not as passing memories, but as reminders of something rare, something irreplaceable. This video is not about bitterness, nor is it about blame. It is about clarity. It is about understanding the silent emotional journey a woman goes through when she loses a man of depth, integrity, and presence. From the chaos of regret, to the awakening of painful truths, to the lasting legacy you leave behind, each stage reveals not just her feelings, but the power you hold as a man who values himself enough to walk away with dignity. And here's the part that matters most. This story is not about her. It's about you, about the strength you carry, the composure you show, and the future you continue to build. If this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video with someone who needs it. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below, because the wisdom we explore here is meant to be lived, shared, and remembered. Now, let's dive in and uncover the truth she faces when she realizes she lost you. 1. Persistent memories. Let me tell you something most men don't realize until much later in life. When a woman loses a man of true value, it's not the grand gestures she remembers. It's the quiet moments, the little things, and those small, seemingly ordinary details. The way you laughed at something simple, the calm in your eyes when life grew heavy, the sense of safety she felt when you were near. Those are the very things that begin to haunt her once you're gone. At first, she may not even notice it. She might tell herself she's fine, maybe even better off. She distracts herself with new people, new experiences, anything to convince herself that your absence doesn't matter. But memory has a way of creeping back in, and it doesn't return with loud declarations. It slips in quietly, almost unnoticed, until suddenly it's everywhere. She sees a man wearing the same shirt you once wore, and for a moment, her chest tightens. She hears a laugh in a crowded room that sounds a little like yours, and her heart skips before she realizes it isn't you. Even something as simple as making coffee in the morning reminds her of the way you used to hand her a cup without a word, like it was the most natural thing in the world. These are not big cinematic moments, but when she looks back, they carry a weight she can't escape. You see, memory works differently in regret. The things she once overlooked, the way you listened without judgment, the way you stood steady when she was uncertain, become magnified. They grow heavier with time, because now she sees them for what they truly were: rare, irreplaceable, precious. And it's precisely because she no longer has them that they hurt the most. It's not your face she remembers most clearly, it's the feeling that face brought her. It's not the conversations word for word, it's the tone of your voice, the way it made her feel safe, understood, even cherished. And here's the truth. Those feelings are not easily replaced. They leave a mark that lingers. Now, this isn't about revenge or hoping she suffers without you. Stoicism teaches us that bitterness only chains us to the past. No, what I want you to understand is this: the man who walks away with dignity plants a seed in her memory that grows stronger with time. She can bury it under distractions. She can deny it to her friends. But when she's alone at night, The silence has a way of bringing those memories back louder than ever. She might even try to escape them by seeking comfort in someone new. But here's the paradox. The more she tries to replicate what she had with you, the more obvious it becomes that no one else brings the same calm, the same depth, the same steady presence. And that comparison becomes a shadow she cannot outrun. I've lived long enough to tell you this. Memories are not neutral. They shape how we see ourselves. When she remembers you, she doesn't just recall who you were. She recalls who she was when she was with you. And often she realizes she liked that version of herself better. That's why it's so heavy. She isn't just mourning you. She's mourning the part of herself that felt alive, safe, and valued in your presence. And here's the lesson for you, my friend: never underestimate the quiet power of consistency, kindness, and calm strength. These are the things that seem ordinary in the moment, but in hindsight, they are unforgettable. They are what separate a high-value man from the rest. So when she remembers you, it won't be the gifts or the dates or even the words. It will be that steady presence, the man who didn't need to shout to be heard, who didn't need to chase to prove his worth, who carried himself with quiet confidence. That memory doesn't fade. If anything, it grows sharper with time. And the irony, by the time she realizes the weight of those memories, you've likely already moved forward. You're building, growing, becoming stronger. And that contrast, her being stuck in the past while you rise into the future, only deepens the permanence of those memories. Persistent memories are her reminder, but they should be your encouragement. Because they prove something vital. When you live with presence, with calm strength, with integrity, you leave a mark that can't be erased. And that, my friend, is the true power of a Stoic man. 2. The shock of absence. There's a silence that follows your departure. At first, she mistakes it for freedom. She tells herself she's lighter now that she can finally breathe. But slowly that silence begins to echo, and the weight of your absence grows heavier than your presence ever did. Your absence, you see, is not just physical. It's not about an empty chair at the table or a quiet phone that used to light up with your name. It's psychological. It's the sudden removal of the anchor she leaned on without ever realizing it was there. The stability, the calm, the quiet confidence you carried, it was the invisible fabric that held her world together. When that fabric is torn away, everything unravels. At first, she doesn't admit it. She distracts herself, maybe with friends, with work, even with someone new. On the outside, she posts pictures, laughs louder, fills her days with activity. But no matter how fast she runs, she cannot outrun the void you left behind. Because the truth is, you weren't just a man in her life, you were her equilibrium. Women often underestimate how much they rely on a man's emotional steadiness until it's gone. It's like the foundation of a house, unseen, unappreciated. But once removed, everything else feels shaky. Her routines, her moods, even her sense of independence suddenly feel less certain. And that's when the shock begins to sink in. It's not just that she misses you. She misses the version of herself she was when you were around. She misses feeling steady because you were steady. She misses feeling safe because you carried safety within you. And as she realizes this, the mask of strength she wears for the world starts to crack. In private moments she won't admit to anyone. The shock of absence often comes in waves. The first wave is denial. I'm fine. I don't need him. The second is anger. He'll regret leaving me. But as time passes, those waves give way to something deeper. A quiet, haunting recognition that she may never find that same stability again. And here's where the paradox reveals itself. The very strength she once overlooked now becomes the thing she craves most. The very man she thought she could replace becomes the one she cannot forget. Not because you were perfect, but because you were consistent in a world full of inconsistency. The Stoics remind us we do not realize the value of air until we cannot breathe. For her, your absence is that suffocating moment. Every distraction loses its flavor, every substitute falls short. Because at the core, what she's truly missing is not entertainment, not attention. It's the rare peace of being near a man who does not lose himself even in chaos. For you, this is not about gloating or revenge. It is about understanding the silent power of walking away with dignity. You don't need to prove your worth. Your absence proves it for you. It teaches her without words that your presence was never ordinary, that what she took for granted was in fact extraordinary. And as she grapples with the shock, you must remember this. Her struggle is not your responsibility. Her void is not yours to fill. Your task as a Stoic man is to continue forward, to build, to grow, to live with clarity and principle. Because the real strength of absence is not in the pain it leaves behind, but in the freedom it gives you to step fully into the man you were meant to be. That, my friend, is the shock of absence, not just her realization of what she lost, but your realization of what you've gained. 3. The irreplaceable realization. There comes a moment, and it doesn't arrive quickly. It creeps in slowly, almost unwillingly, when she's forced to confront the truth she never wanted to admit. Men like you are not common. At first, she believed otherwise. Society tells her men are interchangeable, that if one leaves, another will come along to fill the space. She convinced herself of this, repeating the story that someone better was just around the corner. But the more she searches, the more she compares. The clearer it becomes, every new encounter only highlights the uniqueness of what she lost. It's not that other men don't try. They do. Some might bring charm. Others might bring attention. A few may even bring gifts or temporary excitement. But none of them carry that steady depth. None of them live with the quiet integrity you embodied. And none of them provide the kind of grounding presence that gave her a sense of security without even asking for it. This realization doesn't strike like lightning, it unfolds in layers. Maybe it starts with a conversation where she notices how shallow another man's words sound compared to the way you spoke with weight and sincerity. Maybe it's the moment she faces a challenge and realizes the new man beside her doesn't know how to stand strong the way you did. Or maybe it's late at night when silence presses in and she feels the absence of a presence that can't be duplicated. Here's the irony. The very qualities she once overlooked are the very ones she now craves the most. Your patience, your ability to listen without judgment, your refusal to bend your values for the sake of approval. Those things didn't shine in flashy ways during the relationship. But now in hindsight, they tower above everything else. And the more she sees what's missing, the more she feels the weight of her own choices. She realizes she mistook consistency for simplicity, strength for rigidity, and your calm steadiness for something ordinary. But now when she measures other men against you, the differences are impossible to ignore. The Stoics teach us that rarity gives value. Gold is precious, not because it shines, but because it is scarce. So it is with men of integrity. They are not easily found, and when one is lost, it leaves a void that cannot simply be filled with the next person who walks into her life. For her, this is not just about missing you, it's about understanding her own limitations. She begins to see the ways she fell short, the pride that blinded her, the times she dismissed what should have been treasured. And that realization cuts deep because it's not a loss she can undo. For you, this is not a moment to turn back. It is a confirmation of what you've always known deep down, that your value is not negotiable, not replaceable, not defined by her recognition of it. Her realization is late, but it validates what you already live by, that men who stand in their principles, who embody strength and calm presence, are rare in this world. And once she sees this truth, she cannot unsee it. It lingers in her thoughts, colors her future relationships, and shapes her understanding of what a high-value man truly is. Every comparison, every disappointment, every fleeting connection only reinforces the fact that losing you wasn't just losing a man. It was losing the rarest kind of man. That is the irreplaceable realization. For her, it is a wound. For you, it is a reminder to keep walking the path of discipline, integrity, and strength. Because what is rare should never chase it, should simply be. 4. Emotional chaos and self-worth. On the surface, she still looks composed. She still posts the photos, still laughs with her friends, still talks about her independence. But beneath that facade, something has shifted. It's subtle at first, like cracks in glass, barely visible to others, but spreading deeper with each passing day. That's the chaos your absence created. You see, when you were in her life, you provided more than love or attention. You were her anchor, the steady presence she leaned on without even realizing it. When the storm came, she knew you would not be shaken, and that gave her a kind of security she never had to ask for. Now that you're gone, that security is gone too. And with it, her sense of self-worth begins to unravel. At first, she denies it. She tells herself she's fine, that she doesn't need anyone to complete her. She may even say she's stronger without you. But deep inside, when the noise fades, she begins to notice how unsteady she feels. The very confidence she once flaunted now feels fragile. The independence she bragged about begins to feel hollow. Why? Because so much of her strength wasn't hers alone. It was borrowed from the stability you carried. Like a tree leaning against a rock, she didn't notice how much support she was taking until the rock was gone. This is the part most men never see. They assume when a woman looks strong after a breakup, it means she doesn't care. But the truth is, chaos doesn't always scream. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it masks itself with a smile, while underneath she's questioning everything. And the questions run deep. She starts to wonder, why wasn't I enough to make him stay? Did I take him for granted? Will I ever find someone like him again? Those questions chip away at her sense of worth. She may never say them out loud, but they echo in the quiet hours of the night. The Stoics remind us, man conquers the world by conquering himself. You had that self-mastery, an inner strength that didn't depend on her validation. And now in losing you, she faces the opposite, the realization that her sense of stability depended too much on someone else. That imbalance is what shakes her self-worth to its core. She might try to cover the cracks with distractions, a busier schedule, more nights out, perhaps even another man. But deep down, none of it fills the void. Because the chaos isn't about what she lost, it's about what she now sees in herself. You leaving forced her to confront the truth. She was leaning too heavily on the strength of another. And when that strength walked away, her foundation trembled. For you, my friend, this is not a reason to feel pity or regret. It's a reminder of the silent power you carry when you live as a grounded, disciplined man. Your worth isn't proven by chasing or convincing, it's proven by the space you leave behind. And when that space reveals the instability in others, it only confirms the steadiness you built within yourself. That is the chaos of your absence. It doesn't erupt loudly. It whispers in the cracks of her confidence, in the quiet doubts she can't silence, in the gnawing awareness that what she lost was not just a partner, but the anchor that kept her world steady. And while she wrestles with that chaos, you continue on your path, not defined by her, not broken by the past, but rooted firmly in the self-worth that no one can take from you. 5. Spiritual awakening. There's a kind of pain that cuts deeper than heartbreak. It's the pain of being forced to look in the mirror and see truths you've avoided for years. That's what your departure does to her. It's not just the loss of a relationship. It's the loss of the mirror you once held up to her soul. When you were there, you reflected back a version of her that she could admire. The woman who felt safe by your side. The woman who rose to meet your standards. The woman who saw in your eyes the reminder that she was capable of more. And when you left, she didn't just lose a man, she lost that mirror. At first, she resists it. She tells herself the story of blame. She says you were too demanding, too disciplined, too detached. But when the anger fades and the silence stretches on, another story begins to whisper the one she can't silence. And that story says, "No, it wasn't him. It was me." This is where the awakening begins. You see, heartbreak often tempts people to numb themselves to avoid the deeper lesson. But real loss has a way of breaking down defenses. And once those defenses are gone, she has no choice but to face what's underneath her values, her insecurities, her growth, or the lack of it. Without you there to anchor her, she sees where she's been leaning on illusions. She sees the pride that made her dismiss small acts of kindness. She sees the vanity that made her crave attention while neglecting loyalty. She sees the fear that made her push away the very stability she longed for. It's not an easy awakening. It hurts. It stings. But as the Stoics remind us, pain is often the beginning of wisdom. And your absence has now become her teacher in ways your presence never could. This spiritual awakening is not about religion, it's about clarity. It's about seeing life stripped bare without the masks and distractions. She begins to realize that losing you was never just about losing love. It was about losing the man who represented what she most desired in herself: strength, discipline, steadiness. And now, without that mirror, she's left with the question every soul must eventually ask: who am I really? That's why your departure carries such weight. It forces her to see herself not through your eyes, but through her own, and she doesn't always like what she sees. But in that discomfort lies the seed of transformation. Some women, when faced with this awakening, run from it. They bury themselves in noise, hoping to avoid the lessons. Others, though, take the harder path. They begin to grow. They start questioning their habits, their values, their patterns. They begin slowly to become someone better. But here's the truth you must remember: whether she grows or whether she avoids it is no longer your burden. Your role was never to fix her, but to live with integrity. And by walking away, you gave her the greatest gift you could, the space to see herself clearly. For you, this awakening is not about her. It's about what it reveals about the power you hold as a man of principle. You didn't have to lecture her. You didn't have to punish her. Your absence was enough to teach the lesson. And that is the essence of a Stoic truth. Sometimes the most powerful act of love is to step away, not in bitterness, but in strength. and let reality be the teacher. So understand this. My friend, when she thinks of you, she will not only remember the man she lost, but the mirror he held. And long after you've walked away, that mirror will remain in her memory, reflecting not just who you were, but who she could have been. 6. Biological and emotional cravings. There are truths we like to think we've outgrown, but nature always finds a way to remind us. And one of those truths is this: beneath the layers of independence, beneath the polished masks of confidence, we are all still driven by primal needs. For her, one of those needs was the emotional grounding you provided. Not flowers, not promises, not even passion, but something far more primal: security. The quiet assurance that no matter how stormy life became, you were steady. And here is the irony: she didn't recognize how deeply she relied on that until you were gone. You see, women are wired to seek connection. It's not weakness, it's biology. Their nervous system finds balance in emotional stability. And when you embodied that calm, she rested in it without thinking. But when that stability is removed, the craving begins. It doesn't matter how much she distracts herself, how loudly she proclaims freedom. The body knows what it's missing. At first, she tries substitutes: more time with friends, busier days, maybe even another man. But it never feels the same, because those substitutes lack depth. They don't carry the weight of your presence, the calm of your discipline, the rare balance of strength and softness you once gave freely. And here's what makes this craving so relentless. It isn't just emotional, it's biological. It lives in her body. It lives in the quiet ache she feels when she remembers the way your calm slowed her racing thoughts. It lives in the restless nights when she longs for the grounding she once took for granted. Think about it like hunger. A person can eat candy snacks or fast food, but the body still craves real nourishment. In the same way, she can fill her life with noise and people, but the soul still longs for the rare nourishment of true emotional security. And once she has known that anything less feels hollow. This is why your absence grows heavier with time, not lighter, because the craving doesn't fade, it deepens. Each reminder of you, whether it's a memory, a song, or even the way another man falls short, reignites that longing. It whispers to her, you lost something rare. You lost what you cannot replace. And the Stoics would say this is not about her. It's about the discipline of the man who walks away. By refusing to beg, by refusing to crumble, by choosing your own stability over chaos, you prove that you are whole without her. And that wholeness, that emotional independence, is precisely what she now craves most. Understand this clearly. She doesn't simply miss you. She misses the version of herself she became in your presence, the calmer, steadier, more secure woman she was when she leaned into your strength. And no matter how far she runs, that craving will follow her. For you, my friend, this is the lesson: never underestimate the silent power of your stability. It is more attractive, more lasting, and more unforgettable than charm or appearance ever could be. And when you embody that strength, you stop needing to chase. Because the craving will always belong to the one who walked away with dignity, not the one who stayed begging to be needed. 7. Moving forward. With strength, there is a kind of silence after loss that feels like a heavy fog, thick, disorienting, suffocating. She is in that fog now, wrestling with her own thoughts, with the weight of regret, with the craving for what she once dismissed. But while she lingers there, you are not standing still. Because here is the truth. When a man refuses to collapse under heartbreak, when he chooses discipline over despair, something remarkable happens. He grows. At first, the growth feels small. You wake up earlier, you focus on your work, you return to the gym, you read, you pray, you meditate. These seem like ordinary steps, but each one builds momentum. Day by day, you strengthen the muscles of discipline, of clarity, of self-respect. Meanwhile, she notices. She might not admit it out loud, but she sees it. Perhaps through mutual friends, perhaps through the quiet ways your life now speaks louder than your words. She sees the man who once stood by her side becoming even more confident, more grounded, more untouchable. And this contrast, it magnifies everything. Her regret deepens because now she realizes not only what she lost, but what you've become in her absence. While she replays the past, you're building the future. While she leans into distractions, you lean into purpose. And purpose, my friend, is magnetic. The Stoics remind us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And for her, the imagination now runs wild. She imagines what it would have been like to grow beside you, to share in the victories you are now achieving. She imagines the life she could have had if she had truly valued the man in front of her before it was too late. That imagination becomes its own form of torment. But for you, this stage is not about proving her wrong. It's not about revenge. It's about alignment. It's about becoming the man who lives by principle, who grows not out of bitterness, but out of devotion to his own potential. Each step forward confirms what you already know. Your worth does not depend on her recognition. Your dignity does not hinge on her approval, and your future will not be built on her return. It will be built on your choices, your discipline, and your refusal to break. Here's the paradox. The more you move forward, the more respect she feels. Because respect is never born out of neediness, it is born out of independence. When she sees you thriving without her, she realizes what she once doubted. You were never a man who needed her to define him. You were always a man who defined himself. And in that realization, attraction lingers. Regret lingers. Respect deepens. But by then, it no longer matters, for you've already stepped into a higher chapter of your life. This is the Stoic way to turn suffering into strength loss, into wisdom, endings into beginnings. And while she wrestles with her chaos, you walk forward with clarity, carrying the quiet power of a man who knows I am whole, with or without her. 8. What ifs and self-blame. There comes a moment long after the noise has faded, when the silence grows heavy. It's in that silence that her mind begins to turn against her. Not with anger toward you anymore, but with questions sharp as knives cutting deep into her own memory. What if I had valued him more? What if I had listened instead of argued? What if I hadn't let pride blind me to what I truly had? At first, these thoughts come as whispers. A song triggers them, or a photograph she stumbles across. But over time, the whispers become louder, more persistent, until they form an echo chamber in her mind. And this echo doesn't fade easily, because regret, when it matures into self-blame, becomes one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. The truth is, we humans replay the past because it gives us the illusion of control. We imagine that if we could change one decision, one word, one reaction, the story would end differently. She now falls into that trap. She dissects every moment, every argument, every missed chance to appreciate you. And each dissection deepens her sense of loss. But here's what she begins to realize. These what-ifs are not just about you. They are about her. They expose the patterns she ignored. They reveal her impatience, her pride, her inability to nurture something rare when it was right in front of her. She begins to see that losing you wasn't an accident. It was the inevitable result of choices repeated over time that pushed you away. And this realization reshapes the way she sees relationships, not just the one she had with you, but all of them. The standards she once dismissed now become the standards she craves. The depth she once overlooked now becomes the depth she longs for. She starts to wonder if she is even capable of meeting a man like you halfway again, or if she has already squandered her best chance. The Stoics teach us that pain, when faced honestly, can become the seed of growth, but pain, when resisted, becomes torment. And that is where she lingers, between growth and torment, between accepting the lesson and being consumed by it. For her, the what-ifs are not just memories, they are mirrors. Mirrors that show her not only what she lost, but the ways she failed to protect it. And that self-blame is powerful because it is no longer about blaming you. It is about realizing she betrayed her own deeper values by letting pride, fear, and ego win. For you, my friend, this stage is not something you need to witness. It is not yours to fix. It is hers to endure. And in many ways, it is the most important part of her journey, because no man, no distraction, no new relationship can protect her from the mirror she now faces. Meanwhile, you walk forward, stronger, wiser, freed from the endless loop of what-ifs, because you know the truth. You gave what you could. You stood with integrity, and when the time came, you walked away with dignity. And dignity once chosen leaves no room for regret. That's the difference. While she is trapped in the past, you are building the future. And this contrast, the man who grows versus the woman who replays, magnifies the lesson in ways words never could. 9. The moment of realization. There is always a moment. Not at the beginning, not in the storm of arguments, or in the prideful proclamations of independence. It comes later quietly, almost cruelly, in a still moment she cannot escape. Maybe it's a song that drifts through the radio. Maybe it's the smell of coffee in the morning, or the sight of a couple holding hands on the street. Maybe it's just silence, the kind of silence that echoes louder than any words. And in that moment, she finally admits to herself the truth she's been running from. You're not coming back. This realization doesn't arrive gently. It hits like a sudden chill in the middle of summer, a cold wind cutting through her pride. For weeks, maybe months, she told herself stories. Stories that you might return, that perhaps you were only taking time, that the door was still cracked open. But now in this awakening, she feels the door slam shut. And that clarity burns. Because it's not only the loss of you, it's the loss of the illusions she clung to. Illusions that told her she had time, that she could take you for granted, that you would always be there, no matter how little she gave in return. Now she knows differently, and that knowing shakes the ground beneath her. You see, pride is a fragile shield. It can mask fear, it can hide vulnerability, but it cannot survive truth. And this moment of realization strips her pride bare. It forces her to confront not only the fact that you're gone, but that she pushed away a man who carried himself with dignity, with presence, with unwavering self-respect. The Stoics remind us reality cannot be escaped, only faced. And this is the moment where she is forced to face it. She can no longer distract herself with new company, with loud nights out. with carefully curated pictures meant to show the world she's fine. Because the truth isn't in the photos. It's in the silence. It's in the ache that no distraction can fill. This painful clarity cuts in two directions. On one side, she feels regret for what she lost. On the other, she feels the sting of self-awareness, the recognition that her own pride, her own inability to nurture something rare, played a part in this ending. That combination, regret and self-awareness, is what makes this moment so heavy. And yet within it lies a paradox. For while this realization crushes her illusions, it elevates you. Because in her mind, you are no longer just the man she dated. You are now the standard, the benchmark against which she measures all others. The man she thought she could replace has become irreplaceable in her clarity. But here is what matters most for you this moment, is hers, not yours. It is not your responsibility to soothe her pride or soften her awakening. Your role was never to return to the past, but to stand firmly in the present, to keep walking forward with the strength that made you who you are. So while she sits in her silence, realizing that you are not coming back, you continue with your life. And that, my friend, is the power of this chapter. Her realization is her prison, but your clarity is your freedom. And perhaps the deeper lesson for her, the one the Stoics would nod at, is this value. What is rare when you have it, because once it's gone, no amount of regret will bring it back. 10. Regret and introspection. Regret is a quiet visitor. It doesn't knock loudly at first. It slips in during the still hours of the night, when the laughter of friends has faded and the glow of her phone no longer distracts her. It is in those quiet moments that her mind begins to play the reel of memories she once tried to bury. She remembers the way she dismissed your efforts, the times she let pride silence her gratitude, the moments she turned cold instead of choosing kindness. And now, in the absence of your presence, those memories do not come as nostalgia. They come as judgment. A mirror held up to her choices. This regret is heavy, not just because she lost you, but because she begins to realize something deeper. She lost the version of herself she was when she was with you. With you, she felt more secure, more grounded, more at ease. And now, stripped of that anchor, she sees how her actions betrayed not just the relationship, but the person she could have been. The Stoics would call this the beginning of wisdom, the painful recognition of one's own role in suffering. For years, perhaps she pointed outward, blaming circumstances, blaming others, even blaming you. But now, with the silence of your absence surrounding her, there is no one left to blame but herself. And here's the paradox of regret. Though it feels like punishment, it can also be the seed of growth. Because regret, when faced honestly, leads to introspection. And introspection, real unflinching self-examination, is the path to change. So she begins to ask herself questions she once avoided. Why did I take him for granted? Why did I let pride speak louder than my heart? Why did I fail to nurture something rare when I had it? These questions don't just haunt her. They begin to reshape her. At first, the introspection is uncomfortable, even unbearable. But slowly, she starts to see patterns she can no longer ignore. Patterns of insecurity, patterns of needing validation, patterns of pushing away the very stability she craved. And while this doesn't bring you back, it changes her. Because regret, when allowed to ripen into wisdom, becomes a teacher no one can escape. For you, my friend, this stage is no longer about her. It's about the contrast. While she replays the past, you are writing your future. While she questions her choices, you are strengthening yours. And though she may one day grow from her regret, it will always carry your shadow because you were the catalyst for her awakening. And here is the truth. She now understands, perhaps too late. You weren't just a chapter in her story, you were the turning point. The man she lost, and the man she now measures herself against in moments of raw honesty. The lesson for her is painful, but necessary. The lesson for you is liberating your worth was never lost. It was only waiting to be seen first, by her, and now, most importantly, by you. 11. Power of emotional detachment. There is a power most men never learn to wield. It isn't physical strength, or wealth, or charm. It's the power of detachment. Not coldness, not cruelty, but the ability to walk away calmly with dignity, intact without anger, without desperation. When you chose to step back, you didn't shout, you didn't beg, you didn't try to prove your worth. You simply carried yourself with composure, with the quiet assurance that your value was never up for negotiation. And in that moment, something shifted not just in the relationship, but in how she saw you. You see, most people expect a man to crumble when love is withdrawn. They expect pleading tears, frustration, or attempts to bargain. But when you respond with stillness, when you walk away grounded and unshaken, you remove her last illusion of control. She realizes she cannot pull you back. With guilt, cannot provoke you into reaction, cannot manipulate you through emotion. That composure unsettles her because it is rare. The Stoics remind us, he who angers you conquers you, but a man who remains unmoved is unconquerable. Your detachment is not coldness, it is strength. It is proof that your peace cannot be held hostage by another's moods. And the irony is this calm restraint often stirs something in her that all the chasing in the world never could respect. For the first time, she sees you not as someone she could shape, but as someone she must reckon with. A man who doesn't need constant validation. A man who can feel deeply, but refuses to be enslaved by those feelings. A man whose heart is open, yet whose boundaries are unshakable. This is why emotional detachment is so powerful. It reframes you in her mind. You are no longer just another man. You become rare. You become the man who walked away. Not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much about his own dignity to stay where he was undervalued. And here's the paradox. The more calm you remain, the more chaotic her emotions become. While she wrestles with regret, with longing, with self-blame, you stand as steady as stone. And that contrast, the storm inside her versus the stillness inside you, only magnifies your strength in her eyes. But make no mistake, this war was never about her. It was always about you. Because emotional detachment isn't a strategy to make her want you back. It's the practice of reclaiming your freedom. It's the discipline of choosing clarity over chaos, self-respect over desperation. For her, this detachment becomes unforgettable. For you, it becomes liberating. And in that liberation, you embody the very essence of Stoic wisdom to master yourself first so no one else ever masters you. 12. Legacy of your presence. Long after you've walked away, something of you remains. It isn't your voice, your touch, or the daily rhythm of your presence. Those fade with time. What lingers is the standard you set, the quiet strength you carried, the way you held yourself, the steadiness of your values. That becomes a benchmark etched into her memory. When she meets someone new, she may not speak it aloud, but the comparison is immediate. Does he listen the way you did? Does he carry himself with the same calm assurance? Does he hold to his values when life tests him? And more often than not, the answer is no. Not because other men are worthless, but because what you embodied was rare. Something forged in self-discipline, reflection, and the refusal to compromise your dignity. The Stoics teach us that character is a legacy. It outlives circumstances, and it leaves an impression deeper than fleeting charm or empty words. You became that kind of man, the kind whose worth couldn't be seen fully until you were gone. And now, whether she admits it or not, you've set a standard she struggles to find again. This is the paradox of presence. When you were there, she may have overlooked it, treating your steadiness as ordinary. But in your absence, she discovers how extraordinary it was. And so even as she moves forward, she carries the invisible weight of your memory, every man she meets measured against the imprint you left. For her, this legacy is both a burden and a teacher. It reminds her of what she once had and failed to nurture. It forces her to confront the gap between what she settles for now and what she once walked away from. And while she may build new connections, they are all filtered through the shadow of you. For you, this legacy is proof of something powerful. You didn't just occupy space in her life, you elevated it. You didn't just pass through her days, you set a mark that remains long after your departure. That is the mark of a high-value man. And here's the deeper truth, my friend. Your legacy isn't just in her memory. It's in the way you carry yourself into every new chapter of your life. Because the standard you set for her is also the standard you set for yourself. And the man who refuses to compromise that standard becomes unstoppable. So while she measures others against you, you are not standing still. You are moving forward, refining that legacy, deepening your wisdom, strengthening your presence. And that is the ultimate victory. Not that she remembers you, but that you live in such a way you can never forget yourself. And so we've walked together through 12 stages of her journey, 12 truths about what happens when a man of depth, dignity, and strength chooses to walk away from the persistent memories she cannot not escape, to the shock of your absence, to the heavy weight of regret and self-reflection. Every step revealed one thing clearly: your worth was never lost. It was always there, waiting to be recognized, and in your departure, it became undeniable. She may wrestle with chaos, she may confront painful truths about herself, and she may spend years measuring every man against the standard you set. But understand this, my friend. This story is not about her. It has always been about you. About your ability to remain calm in the storm, to detach. Without bitterness, to walk forward carrying the wisdom of self-respect. That is the heart of Stoicism, not being enslaved by another's emotions, but mastering your own. Your strength was not proven in holding on. It was proven in letting go with grace. And now her journey of regret becomes your lesson in freedom. Because while she lingers in memories, you build a future. While she measures others against you, you measure yourself against the man you were yesterday, and keep becoming stronger, wiser, more unshakable. This, in the end, is the legacy of your presence. You showed her what stability, respect, and authenticity look like. And even when you're gone, those lessons remain etched in her heart. But the greater truth is this: the legacy you leave in her life is only a reflection of the greater legacy you are building in your own. So as we close this chapter, let me remind you, your journey does not end here. Carry these lessons with you. Live by your values. Continue walking with calm strength. And remember that true attraction, true respect, true love, are never about chasing approval. They are about becoming the man who commands it naturally, simply by being who he is. If this message spoke to you, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the deeper insights still to come. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we'll keep exploring these truths not as abstract philosophy, but as living wisdom you can carry into every corner of your life. The journey of a Stoic man is never about the past. It's about the future. He is building one decision, one discipline, one moment of clarity at a time.